Did you know that some Coach bags are made in Italy? Even if you did, I bet you didn't know how very many Coach bags are made in Italy. I sure didn't. In this video, I'm going to tell you about 6 different collections that were made in Italy, and I'm not sure that that's even all of them. I'll tell you about what was going on at Coach at the time that these were being done. So what led to this? Why was Coach suddenly making bags in Italy? And of course, I will show you bags and show you how to distinguish them from each other, because some are very similar, and from other Coach bags. And some of these bags have been faked, so I'll give you a couple bits of information to help you make sure you're getting an authentic one if you're looking for one. So stay tuned and welcome. I'm Autumn Beckman, and I'm here to help you live your most luxurious life within your budget. I post new videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of those, and so you don't miss my daily community posts where I share the best sales of the day and fabulous handbags that I find. Also, don't miss my website, autumnbeckman.com. The shop page is where you'll find handbags and small goods that I have available for sale, as well as the My Handbag Collection Organizer. These are planner pages that I've designed to help you organize your handbags and your life. The item tracker page is the heart of the planner. That's where you can record everything you'd want to know about your handbags and your small goods. There are also temptation pages, shipment trackers for when you gave in to temptation, several calendar layouts so you can pick what works best for you, a few different habit trackers, and so much more. Now, due to recent tariff increases, there has been a lot of talk in the handbag community about where our handbags are made. Of particular interest have been videos that seem to be coming out of China from Chinese factories, showing bags that appear to be really high-end luxury brands, such as Hermes, and claiming that those bags are actually made in China when they're sold as being made in France or Italy. Quite a few of you have asked me to make a video on this topic. However, I haven't, and the reason for that is I already did one prior to all this mess. I will link it below, but I will say, based on what I've seen of those videos, it doesn't appear to me that the bags they're claiming are Hermes and maybe other brands are authentic. I don't think they are. They seem to be lookalikes that are made in factories in China, and that's nothing new. That has been around for many, many years now. Great example of this is the Walmart Birkin, which I did a video on a few months ago. I'll link that video below too in case you're interested in checking those out. When we think of designer brands like Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, we think of those as being made in places like France and Italy, among others. So some of you might be surprised to learn that Coach has also made bags in Italy, quite a few of them. And the video that I did on where bags are made did focus in on Italy, because I think a lot of us, when we think of these bags being handcrafted, we have this image in our head of artisans who have been training for years, sitting down at a table and hand sewing our bags. And that is definitely not the case for most of these bags. And in Italy in particular, and I talk about this in the video, and we've also seen it from places like Dior, that fairly recent Dior scandal. Many of these bags are made in very different conditions than what we might imagine. However, these Coach bags that are made in Italy, I think those are, at least compared to today, going to be a little more similar to that image in our head. And that's because of when they were made. Coach started making their handbags in the 1960s in their New York City factory. That was their original building where Coach started. And they did that for as long as they could, but they became so popular that they eventually outgrew themselves, and they sold the company in 1985 to Sara Lee. Yes, the cheesecake people. Sara Lee then started expanding Coach. In 1988, they opened their first Coach factory outside of New York City. It was near Miami in Florida. It was at this point where we saw some of the wording in the Coach creed change, the maiden stamp in particular. It used to say, made in New York City. Once they opened another factory outside of that location, it changed to made in USA. And up until this time, Coach had continued to make bags that were in the style of what we think of now as vintage Coach. That would be their gloved hand leather. This is full grain leather, like this Coach Court bag, with the brass hardware and the turn locks, where the inside is unlined. It's just the suede, the other side of the leather. But handbags were becoming a more and more important accessory for people, and Coach was starting to face some real competition. So around this time, the late 1980s, Coach started expanding their product line to include new designs and also new materials that strayed farther and farther from that original vintage Coach look. For example, at that factory in Florida, they started making a lightweight line with thinner leather so it didn't weigh as much. They also started making accessories and materials other than leather. leather. In 1988, they released their first silk scarves. These were made in Italy. And years later, they produced some shoes and clothing that were also made in Italy. Around 1990, they moved their New York City factory over to New Jersey. The original New York City factory became an expanded headquarters for them. In 1992 is when they introduced their first handbag collection that was made, at least in part, in Italy. And this was called the Sheridan collection. These were introduced in the special edition catalog that Coach put out in 1992. I will put a link in the description box below where you can access a lot, not all, but a lot of the Coach catalogs. So again, 1992, look for a special edition catalog and you'll find this in there. What the catalog says about this new collection is, our new Sheridan collection combines a fresh new design perspective with a specially developed textured leather that over time retains a new appearance. Made of stain and scratch resistant, pebbled, textured natural cowhide, each collection includes fail jacquard lining. Fail is just a particular kind of a textile. Bridle leather trim, domed leather tabs, and brass hardware. Sheridan bags are perfect to dress up or down for the city or country, or for work or a weekend. What they mean, so you know, by this textured leather that is scratch resistant and stain resistant, it just means it's a coated leather. Whereas the original vintage Coach bags, these are vegetable tanned, so they don't have a coating on them. That's why if you get water on it, it might leave watermarks, or if you get lotion or something, that could be absorbed by the leather. This new leather in the Sheridan collection has a coating on it. This is very similar to most leather bags that we find on the market today. They have a coating and many of them have a stamped texture. I'm not sure if this collection was stamped or not. But these coatings just help protect the leather and they make it more durable over time. And I think by looking at some of the bags in these collections where you have a colored leather and then that brown bridle leather trim, and particularly since that trim is smooth and the other leather is pebbled. Does that remind you of anything, perhaps, from around the same time period? Dooney and Bourke is what comes to my mind. And I feel like this collection is a direct response to Dooney, and that Coach would have only done this if they were really feeling like Dooney was a big competitor for them. So they were offering a very similar alternative to try to take some of Dooney's business or try to get some of their own business back from Dooney. The Sheridan collection was made in Italy. It was also made in the US and Costa Rica. So if you're on the market for these, make sure you're looking at the creed because it will say somewhere in there where it's made. There are two places to find the made-in stamps on creeds. So on the creed, you're going to see a paragraph that's written out. Sometimes, usually on the oldest of the bags, it will say underneath that paragraph, made in wherever. Italy, USA, New York City, whatever. But other times, it'll say it within the paragraph. So it'll say, this is a Coach bag, blah, 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 made in Italy, blah, blah, blah. So that's definitely something to look for. So that was the Sheridan collection. In the next year, 1993, Coach released the Madison collection. To my knowledge, all of the Madison bags were made in Italy. Based on the catalogs I have, it looks like it was released in the fall catalog of 1993. And it says the Madison collection balances sleek sophistication with classic style and grace. Appropriate for day or evening, each design is elegantly crafted with a specially developed textured leather, signature brass closures, and a tailored jacquard lining. Each style comes in a range of colors that are exclusive to this collection. That's interesting because often at this point in Coach history and still today, Coach will release colors for each new season and they'll release that across different lines of bags. But here you have this collection with its own specific colors. And that could very well have just been because these were made in Italy and so they had a different process there, different colors were available there and not in their other factories, perhaps. On this first drop, they released 10 bags. They range in price from $210 to $434. But this Madison collection was around for quite a few years, and they released more bags over the years. Here's a picture of a bag I found that's currently for sale. I'll have it linked below. And I wanted to show you this because it has the full set, just to give you an idea of what the original box looked like at this time, and the dust bag. I've seen several people talk about the dust bag. I'm not sure what the earliest Coach dust bags were like, but these were different. They have a little logo on the bottom that says Coach Madison Collection, but they're more like, I think they're more like what Louis Vuitton was doing at that time, where they're a heavier, soft material and they're in that light brown color, like a flannel kind of material. The texture of the Madison line is pebbled, but it is a stiff leather. It's coated, so it's protected, but it's pretty stiff. It's not a squishy leather like most pebbled leathers are. These bags have structure to them. One of the things that really distinguishes the Madison line are the turn locks. I'm sure you know what Coach turn locks look like. If you don't, I'll show you this one. So there we go. It's very oval shaped. But on the Madison line, and this was, I believe, the first time they ever did this, they changed the shape of these turn locks. So they are more elliptical, perhaps. They're a little more pointy on the ends. They're like stretched out. And they're a brushed brass. The interiors of these are that veil jacquard lining, but I've heard there are also some with leather lining, so don't let that throw you off if you're looking on the pre-loved market for these. And of all of the bags from the Madison line, by far the most popular are the three that look like Hermes Kelly bags. The smallest one is called the Gracie. The style number on that is 4413. I tell you that because if you're looking on the pre-loved market, it's great to know the style number because you can use that to search. So you could say Coach Gracie, or you could say Coach 4413 or Coach Gracie 4413. That'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. That originally retailed for $232. It's just over 7 inches across the bottom. There's also the Biltmore, the 4417. This one was released later. It was the last of these 3 bags to be released. It's the middle size of the 3. There was also the 4414, the Copley. It was the largest. It retailed for $358, and it was almost 12 inches wide, so that's a pretty big bag. My friend Fuchsia Floyd has a video showing all 3 of these bags, so I'm going to link that below for you too. In case you're interested in those, you can check it out, see which size might work best for you. Then the following year, 1994, Coach introduced the Sonoma collection. Now this was a little interesting because they did 2 releases kind of back to back. The first release of the Sonoma collection was in the late autumn catalog, and it was only released in nubuck leather. Then they followed that up with the holiday preview catalog, which is where they introduced the Sonoma also in a natural grain pebbled leather. Now personally, the Sonoma collection, even though I don't have any pieces from it yet, these are my favorite of all the made in Italy bags. And I didn't realize until I was researching for this video that they were made in Italy. I knew about the Madison collection. That was the only one that I knew for sure was made in Italy. So it was really fun doing this video because I learned a lot in the process. But what I love about the Sonoma collection is that this is that traditional soft pebbled leather. And this is full grain leather and the texture is all natural. Whereas the Madison and some of the other lines are, I believe, stamped. The textures are stamped. So here's what the holiday preview catalog says about the Sonoma collection. It says the soft, shapely silhouettes of the Sonoma collection are crafted from 2 richly textured, weather and stain resistant leathers. So they are still coated. Velvety nubuck and new for the holiday, supple full grain leather. Nature's infinite variety, revealed in variations of grain and texture, renders each Sonoma bag unique. And for this particular release, our color palette of subtle earth tones plays homage to the majestic beauty of Alaska. So if you're an Alaska fan, this might be a collection you want to look into. Like the Madison collection, the Sonoma collection was produced in Italy, but also in the United States and Costa Rica. So make sure you look at that Coach Creed if you're shopping for one of these bags to see where it was made if you're looking for a particular place. And I'm going to link a video below by Vintage Coach Eye Candy, who used to be Birdie Bloom. I love her channel so much. If you're looking for particular vintage Coach bags, her channel is such a great resource. She's a rehabber and she goes through and shows you details of all these bags. Like just about anything you'd want to know, she's got it on her channel. So she shows the 4921, which is the Sonoma Satchel released in 1996 for $320. That was the original price. And she shows you a few details in this video about what to look for on the authentic bag versus a fake, and she shows an example of a fake bag that she found online. She points out some things about the creed and the interior of the bag, the clasp on the removable strap, the zipper pull, which in this line looked like little metal hang tags. It's a really cool zipper pull. So check that out for some good tips. And for some context, so that was 1994 when the Sonoma collection was released. Skip ahead to 1996. That collection is still being made, and Sara Lee hires Reed Krakoff as their head designer. Now, I don't know who had been designing for Coach between that time and back when Sara Lee took over. I would guess it was some of Sara Lee's people, but I've never been able to find information on that. If you know, please let us know in the comment section. Then in 1998, Coach continued their tradition from the 1990s of making handbags in Italy with the bridal collection. But I found this collection in the holiday preview catalog for 1998, and from this point on they don't give descriptions as far as I've seen of new collections. They just show you the new bags, so I don't have a paragraph to read for you like I did before. But what's different about the bridal collection, and how you can easily tell if a piece is from the bridal collection, is that these are bags made of smooth calf skin, but they have pigskin accents on the outside. It might be the straps are pigskin, so you have that contrasting textures, because the pigskin has these little like dimples in it. It's a pretty unique texture. I don't think you'd easily confuse it with anything. So it would either be on the handles or on the sides of the bags. These also are going to have brass hang tags instead of leather hang tags. And from what I've seen, a black textile interior that says Coach. And right behind the bridal collection in the 1998 holiday catalog, so there was holiday preview, now we have like the real holiday catalog. They introduced the Gramercy collection, which is more like the Madison collection. Except these bags, instead of being that structured coated pebbled leather, they're now a structured coated cross-grain leather. They still have the brass hang tag, and they have a pigskin suede lining. So this is a very light tan, almost a yellowy tint to it color, and it still has the dimply pigskin texture. This collection also featured some bags that look just like the Kelly. They're called Gramercy top handle bags. One I saw in the catalog is 7002, retailing for $348, and it was a little more than 9 inches across the bottom. The easy way to tell these bags apart from the Madison collection, two ways actually. There's the texture, so Madison was pebbled and Gramercy is the cross grain, but also the turn locks. The Madison had those elongated, almost pointy end turn locks. The Gramercy collection, they're rectangular, still brass. So those are the 5 main collections that are made in Italy, but I wanted to throw in one more. There was more of a special collection that even if you're somebody who's familiar with the made in Italy pieces from Coach, you may not know that these bags were made in Italy. This is the Pearlized collection. I only saw one page in the catalog on this collection for 1 year, and that was in the 1998 spring catalog. Now this does have a very small description. It says Pearlized bags and accessories, romantic, feminine, delicate hues, captured in luminous, soft leather, sophisticated styling, provides the perfect choice for special occasions. And the only reason I found this was because I was looking, I think on eBay, for Coach made in Italy, and this bag popped up, and I looked at the creed, and it was indeed made in Italy. As far as I know, these are the only pieces ever made for the Pearlized collection, and I'm saying that based on, they're the only ones I've seen in the catalogs. Based on that, there were 2 bags that were made. The 6107 satchel that retailed for $325, and this bag, the 6106 party bag, for $155. They also had a clutch, a coin purse, a lipstick case, and they were only released in 3 colors: lavender, ivory, and pistachio. So these made in Italy bags are really special pieces. Most of these were considered very high-end for Coach, particularly the Madison and the Gramercy collections. They were considered more like luxury bags. And ultimately, besides the US and Italy, Coach has been made in so many places across the globe, including Hungary, Turkey, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, India, and today most Coach bags are made in Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines, and yes, China. But if you want one made in Italy, check out the ones that I talked about in this video. I will link a few in the description box below, but really the best way is to just Google them. And while you're checking those out in the description box, please also stop by my website, autumnbeckman.com, the shop page, to see what's available there. And thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Hope to see you back here next time, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.